What is up? Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason. And today we are back continuing our second half of our 2014 films. So if you missed our first show, we did our number 10 through number 6. This one, of course, will be on number 5 through number 1. And we'll definitely have some honorable mentions. I think Jason's got 95 of them this year, he said. So
23, I think.
Cool. Well, you rattled off real quickly, depending on how much time.
Or maybe I'll just go like, whoop.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't bring in all the DVDs, so we have to like watch you one by one. Yeah.
No.
Nope. So like I said, if you caught our first show, this is the second half of it. So once again, this is our number 5 through number 1. We got a lot of films to cover, so I say we don't waste any time. I say we get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and start off with my number 5 film of 2014. Before I forgot to say, and also you want to stick around to the end of the show because at the end of the show we'll also do our challenge films for 2015. So you'll want to stick around for that as well. So, but moving right along again to my number 5. So my number 5 film, I actually haven't seen it since the theaters, but I left it on number 5 because I can't rule it out. So it could go up or down based on, whenever I revisit it. But I really enjoyed it when I did see it. And it's actually an animated film, which is actually going to be Big Hero 6. I just really like that. It's a really good, like, kind of, almost coming of age story. And also another one that also deals with, real consequences and, death and that kind of stuff. So, most people have seen Big Hero 6. I haven't seen it since 2014, really, so my memory on it's a little fuzzy, but I do remember really loving it. I do remember it being about, like, this giant, like, robot thing, like, inflatable type robot, because you could, like, poke it and stuff like that. But it's just a really good animated feature, and like I said, I had it at number 5 back then, and I hadn't seen it again to bring it up or down, so who knows, maybe I rewatch it, and, maybe it drops a couple spots. But for right now, number 5. Number 5 film is Big Hero 6.
Oh yeah. I like Big Hero 6. It's one of these. Basically, it's on there somewhere. It's a runner-up. I liked it a lot. I haven't seen it in a while. Also, I know I did watch it at least once at home, like soon after it came out, though. So it's still been a while. But yeah, it's just it's a really good, touching. It's got a lot of good action in it too, though, and it's got a really cool visual style. If I remember right, there's a lot of martial arts, right?
It's kind of a martial.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe that's why I liked it, because I like a lot of martial arts as well. So.
Yeah. But yeah, it's real good. Definitely a runner-up for me. Strong movie for sure. Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, moving right along to your number 5 film, which is going to be Birdman.
Birdman, yes. I love Birdman. I also haven't seen it in a while. Kind of like Big Hero 6. I saw it in the theater at least once, and then I saw it at home soon after it came out, but it's still been a while. But it's one of those movies that I still remember a lot of it, because it has a lot of images that kind of get stuck in your brain. So it stars Michael Keaton as kind of a washed-up actor who was famous for playing a superhero. So it's
himself. So
yeah, basically, instead of Birdman, Batman, you could definitely draw some comparisons, but he's this washed up actor who was once famous for playing a superhero, who is trying to mount trying to produce and star in a Broadway play, and also at the same time he's going through kind of a mental breakdown, seemingly, from being being washed up and having low self-esteem and being kind of attacked by critics for years. And he's kind of going through a little bit of a mental breakdown. And I'm making it sound like kind of a bummer, but it's actually a really funny movie. Definitely a dark comedy, but it's definitely got a lot of humor in it, which I think is cool because it's directed by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, who is really mostly well known for making very, very, very serious movies like Amores Perros, 21 Grams, The Revenant, Babel. Basically all those movies, like, they are not funny at all. I mean, they're very, very, very serious, very dark, very sad movies, where this one's actually got a lot of humor. I wouldn't call it light. It's not light humor, but it's definitely got a lot of humor to it. It's also structured in a way to appear like it's all filmed in one continuous take. It's obviously not filmed in one continuous take. There's no way they could do all the complicated things without many edits, but it's made in a way that's mimicking one continuous long shot. And I love that kind of stuff. Usually I just like that kind of experimentation. It's got a lot of really great performances. It's the first, Michael Keaton hasn't had a really meaty starring role like this in a long time, or since, I don't think. And he really gives it everything he's got. Edward Norton is really good in there, and Emma Stone's really good in there. It's definitely not for everybody. The one-shot take is not going to work for everybody. The weirdness of it's not going to work for everybody. The dark sense of humor is not going to work for everybody. But I really enjoy this movie, and I feel like if I put it on right now, I would still have it number 5 in my top 10. So yeah, definitely number 5, Birdman.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't seen it since it came out either, so my memory on it's a little fuzzy. I clearly didn't like it as much as you did, but I don't remember disliking it or anything like that. I just thought it was kind of middle of the road okay. So it's not in my runner-up or honorable mentions or anything like that either. But I don't remember disliking it. I don't remember specifically even what grade I gave it. I tried to look it up, but I got the feeling it was like a 3 out of 5 for me, which is kind of my default. It was, but I didn't love it kind of grade. So, but yeah, cool. Like I said, I just can't remember enough about it to really, speak on it enough, I guess, if you will, to say, what I didn't like about it or what I loved about it. I do remember it being a little weird, but I do remember it having some humor and maybe chuckling a couple times as well. So, But cool. All right. Moving right along to my number 4 film. I'll bring that in. Speaking of martial arts, is going to be The Raid 2. So that's my number 4 film. So I really liked the first Raid. I thought it was great. But that one kind of reminds me a little bit more of like Dread, because they're kind of like in this high-rise building and they're kind of like trying to work their way up to, the big boss at the end. This one has a little bit of that as well, but it's different. This one's a more complete story because this one, he's kind of like the main character is kind of like an undercover guy working, like infiltrating like this, like, crime organization kind of thing. And then he gets kind of wrapped up with that. And then, there's a bunch of like, big henchmen, bad guys to where it kind of like, so there's a lot of fighting, martial arts, shooting all throughout the film pretty much. There's some time in the beginning where he's in prison. And there's like a bunch of really, really cool, insane battle scenes in the jail there. And there's tons of fight scenes throughout the film. But what really makes this film is towards the end, where he has to basically. It reminds me if you've ever seen the Bruce Lee film Game of Death, where basically a lot of people have mixed feelings about that film because he died while filming the film, so they had to go in and like throw in a bunch of like dub scenes and extras and things of that nature in order to complete that film. But the end of the film, those fight scenes, he was there for all those fight scenes at the end, and he's basically going through like each level he has to fight like a bigger boss, kind of like a video game kind of thing, where each level he goes up and he has to fight like this boss, then he fights like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then he fights like another big boss. Well, this one's kind of in that same vein, only in this one there's different guys. There's a guy that has like a baseball bat and a baseball, and he uses that as a weapon. There's a girl that has like two. She's deaf, but she has like two hammers, and she uses that as a weapon. There's another guy that has like knives or like some sort of knife that he uses as a weapon. So, but each level he has to fight like a bigger, scarier boss kind of thing. So, yeah, so it's just a really, really fun film. Like I said, just complete action throughout. I know you had recently recommended another film. They come for us at night, or what is it called?
The night comes for us.
Comes for us. I like that one. It wasn't as nearly as good as this one, I felt like.
I didn't know you watched it.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I watched that one a couple months ago, or about a month ago. But I like that one. I didn't think it was as good as this one, or even the first Raid personally. The story was a little more messy in that one. I felt like a little longer for my take. But I love this one. This one I think is even better than the first Raid. That's my number 4 film, The Raid 2. Nice.
Yeah, it's definitely another one that is on here. Like, I love this movie. It's definitely in my runner-ups, high in my runner-ups for sure. And I liked it like way better than the first Raid. I did like the first Raid, and I've only seen it the once. I've always meant to go back and revisit it, but the first Raid was like you said, it was fairly one note. It's all in that one building for the most part, just up by level. It was cool. It had a lot of really good action in it. But like you said, this is more just a more expansive story. The action scenes are a lot more varied,
Right.
and like you said, like each one is just like better than the one before it. Like it
Right.
starts out with the one in prison, which is really amazing, but every single action scene after that just tops the one that came before it until you can hardly like catch your breath, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say that the thing about all three of those films, although that one is not technically the third part, it has some of the same actors in it though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the thing about all three of those films is, and we've said this before, is there's so much action and bloodletting in it. It is almost a horror film. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. Yeah.
They're both so brutal in the deaths and the way that they kill people, and hammers in the head and in the skull, and slitting throats and decapitating people. It's almost a horror movie. You know what I mean? It's like the kind of film where like, yeah, it's action. It's action. Don't get me wrong, because there's tons of martial arts, but it's almost scary action. So almost squeamishly action. You know what I mean? Because like body parts getting broken, and like I said, like people getting decapitated and just all kinds of craziness. So yeah,
and the Night Comes for Us is like just insane with the amount of like body trauma. Like I mean, just the scene in the slaughterhouse alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So right when they walk into a slaughterhouse, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because they had all the tools and stuff everywhere. You're like, he's definitely gonna be using some of these tools.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I love the Raid 2, absolutely. Yep.
Cool. All right, moving right along to your number 4 film, and I'll bring that in, and that is going to be Under the Skin.
Yeah. So Under the Skin is a film by Jonathan Glazer, who is, for only making 3 feature-length films, he's got a very interesting career already. He made a movie called Sexy Beast, which I wasn't too crazy about. I need to watch it again though. And he made a movie called Birth with Nicole Kidman, which is a very controversial movie. You either love that one or you hate it. I love it. And then there was a long gap where he didn't make any movies, and then Under the Skin came out. So this is a very unique, very creepy, very weird movie that stars Scarlett Johansson as some sort of alien in the movie, and it's very ambiguous. You don't really know what her mission is, but what she does is she seems to be seducing men and then like absorbing them, like kind of eating them.
She's kind of like a succubus, basically.
Yeah, she is. But at some point, the movie is mostly about her kind of, because when it starts, she's basically like a Terminator, like no emotion, no nothing. But as she starts to become more aware of herself and aware of humanity, she starts to kind of question what she's doing. And I know that plot makes it sound kind of like, sentimental or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, like the Terminator doing the thumbs up kind of thing. It's not anything like that. Like it is interesting to see her kind of develop some sort of like emotion or something like that, but it's definitely not a sentimental movie by any means. But it is a really interesting, really unique movie. Scarlett Johansson is amazing in this movie because she approaches this unlike any other performer I've ever seen in this kind of role. Like she makes her reactions to things truly alien. You know what I mean? Because most of the times when a human is playing an alien, they're I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but their actions are still kind of human based, or because they want you to identify with the character. She doesn't do very much in this movie to make you identify with her. Her actions, her thoughts, her choices are very alien. They don't make sense, and that's on purpose. But yeah, it's a very disturbing, very creepy movie, and it's definitely not everybody's cup of tea. I'll put it that way. But me, I love it. I think I've watched it 3 times and I like it more every time I watch it because I get more out of it every time I watch it. It's one of those movies that's ambiguous and layered, and it takes a while to latch onto and to kind of extract meaning from scenes that aren't, given to you very easily, if that makes any sense. But I love this movie for sure. Yeah, it's number 4, Under the Skin.
All right. Yeah, I'm definitely in the camp of not liking this movie. So it just wasn't for me. It's weird. It's just not my style. So I didn't care for it. Definitely one that I won't be revisiting for sure. So didn't care for it. So just leave it at that. But thanks for bringing it in. I'm sure there's other people that are in the same camp that liked it, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't like it either. So
yeah,
it's the camp that I'm in. So, but cool. All
yeah.
Right, moving on. Moving on.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of film criticism.
That's right. Yeah, some people
I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah, no. I don't think that's it at all. I don't think that's it at all. Moving on to my number 3, going in a different direction, much more lighthearted comedy. Is actually going to be Chef. I really love this movie. It's like written and directed by Jon Favreau. He's known more for like his Marvel and stuff like that, but he's actually a really, really good writer and director as well, and actually a really good actor also when he wants to act and do something different for sure. This one also stars Scarlett Johansson as well. It's got a bunch of people in it. Really, there's tons of stars. Robert Downey Jr. There's tons of people in this movie, but basically, he is a chef. Surprise, surprise, who works for like this high-end like restaurant down like in LA. And like I said, it's a comedy. He works in this high-end restaurants down in LA, and his boss, played by Dustin Hoffman. Basically, he's been getting like these reviews from like this guy, like this critic, like food critic or whatever, that is really, really like, tough on them, and they're always like wanting to like kind of appease him. So he's like this really like world-renowned food critic, and so he's always like trying to like make these dishes and things of this nature to kind of like impress this guy if he knows he's coming, and he wants to get like creative and experimental with it. And his boss, Dustin Hoffman's like, well, why are you trying to do something creative when you've got this person coming in here? Just play your hits, you know what I mean? You don't try to get special or cutesy with it. And so he gives him what what his boss basically wants him to do. And of course, the critic kind of just rips him to shreds, and he kind of goes into like a little bit of depression and that kind of stuff, and ends up quitting his job, and decides for whatever reason that he wants to like, open up his own food truck, and take his son along with him, and one of his chefs that works for him. He's like the head chef, so one of his apprentices or whatever decides to go with him as well. And so basically they go down to Florida, and basically end up buying like this old like truck and restoring it. And basically he starts like making like, these experimental dishes, like Cuban type dishes. I think in the movie he plays like a Cuban or something of that nature. And basically just kind of a road trip. So it's just kind of like a fun road trip film. That's a comedy, like I said, with a lot of big name stars. But it's not like a big, it wasn't like a big hit or anything of that nature. It just has a lot of people in it. And it's just like a really fun, just funny film. I just really enjoy it. I get something out of it, every single time that I watch this one as well. It kind of reminds me a little bit, not similar or exactly the same, but like a little Miss Sunshine in a way, because it's kind of like that road trip film with a bunch of like different people with different personalities. Only in this one, it's more like food related. And like some of the dishes they make just like have your mouth like watering every time they're like making these dishes, because the food just looks so good. But it's also really, really funny and a really just fun, interesting film. So that's my number 3, Chef.
Yeah, I like Chef a lot. It's been a long time since I watched it. I saw it at the theater and I haven't seen it since. But it is, like you said, it's just it's a funny, warm, enjoyable movie, And I think it actually did do pretty well at the box office. Like for a small film, I think it did pretty well.
Like in like a indie or something. Like okay.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely made money. I think, and almost everyone I know has seen it. So that's one way you can tell too. Yeah. But yeah, I liked it a lot.
I ran into a lot of people that said they'd never even heard of it. So
really, okay, yeah. Well, I thought it did pretty well actually. But
I don't know.
whatever the case. But yeah, it's a good solid movie for sure. I'm surprised you put it ahead of The Raid 2. I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Moving right
And it
along.
was nice to also. It was nice to see Jon Favreau go back to his roots a little bit. Because I mean, like my favorite Jon Favreau movies are still, Swingers and Maid, and Elf, but that's kind of a different thing. But
Yeah.
it was kind of going back to his roots a little bit, his like independent roots. So I like
Yeah, I
that.
can agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, moving on to your number 3, which is going to be the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Grand Budapest Hotel. Yeah. So it's a Wes Anderson movie, which means it's very, very.
Quirky.
It takes place in quirky. It takes place in Wes Anderson's hyper stylized, very organized universes. So it takes place in a fictional country at a fictional hotel that has kind of survived for many, many decades and is now kind of crumbling. And it's kind of a flashback story. The majority of it takes place in flashback of its brighter days, I guess you could say. But if you like Wes Anderson, you're gonna like this one because it's maybe the most Wes Anderson movie there is. You know what I mean? Like his movies are always very quirky and very very they take place in those very meticulous. That's the word I was looking for. Meticulously organized little fantasy worlds. You know what I mean? And maybe even more so than Moonrise Kingdom, or maybe even more so than Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's like I said, it's the most Wes Anderson movie maybe there is. But I really like it a lot. It's surprisingly dark. Like if it's probably the closest Wes Anderson has made to making a horror movie, because there's actually some pretty creepy characters in this, and there's some pretty surprising violence in this too. But it's still got that kind of charm, that kind of storybook charm that he has. It's definitely R-rated, definitely R-rated. So I wouldn't, take your kids to this after Fantastic Mr. Fox or anything like that. But it's a really good movie. Ray Fiennes is really good in it. Tony Revolori, F. Murray Abraham, Saoirse Ronan. Good cast, good story, neat visuals, creative. It's a Wes Anderson movie. If you like that, then you'll like this one. So, yep, number 3.
All right. Yeah, I like Wes Anderson. It's not up there with some of the other films like, Moonrise Kingdom or The Fantastic Mr. Fox for me, but I did like this one. I didn't love it, but I do like it. It's definitely good. I don't know if I had it in my runner-ups or not, but I have to look at them again. But I did like it. I just didn't love it. I didn't think it was as good as some of his other films, personally. But then again, I don't love everything that he does either. I know that you more or less do. I wouldn't say he's hit or miss for me, but I don't necessarily love everything that he does either. So his style is very distinctive, and for me, it works most of the time for me, but it doesn't always work. Kind of like the Coen brothers. I like a lot of their stuff.
Right.
Their style works for me most of the time, but there's definitely films that I don't like of theirs at all. So
Yeah.
just one of those things. Sometimes it's just I really like it when that style's going this way, but sometimes I just don't. So cool. But I don't dislike this one. And I actually rewatched this one recently just to see it again, to make sure that it, I didn't, wasn't too hard on it or anything, and I wasn't. So
okay.
So good to know. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along to my number 2, and I will bring that in there, and that is going to be Boyhood. So number 2 is Boyhood, which is basically it's a Richard Linklater film. And what I like about this one, and I don't know, we've had other discussions about his film. He's all of his films, a lot of them have to do with time. He's really good about like time. And so like like the Sunrise trilogy or whatever, it's pretty much Ethan Hawke, and and they age, they they keep showing the films, and it's like a continuation of their story that like spans over like I don't know, 30 years or something. I don't know. It's like a long time. So, whereas Boyhood, basically, he must have been shooting this film at the same time, bits and pieces of it at the same time he's been shooting all of his other films. Boyhood literally is a basically kind of a 12-year story of this boy that basically starts when he's like, I guess like from like, I don't know. Well, he's like 18 at the end, I guess.
So 6 or so, yeah.
So 6 and then all the way up to 18. So basically, he films like this boy and their family and the story for basically over the course of 12 years. And literally, you get to see this boy age. Every couple, scenes, he's like getting a little bit older, a little bit wiser. So it's a comedy, but it's also just an interesting take on watching like a boy kind of grow up over the course of a film. And I think that's what really, really sells this film for me. It's very unique. I've never seen any film that really kind of does that in this way, where they use the same actor, that's like a 6-year-old boy, and by the end of it, he's a grown man. You know what I mean? It's just very interesting. And to even think of a concept like that, I think is kind of just unique. And it's just like one of those films. And it's an interesting story as well. It's like him and his sister, and they're kind of like his parents their parents have divorced, and so the mom, who's played by Patricia Arquette, she's kind of like going through her own stuff, and she's getting involved with like different men and different relationships that are kind of leading to nowhere. They're either abusive or they have some issues or whatever case may be. And so the kids are always like constantly having to like be shifted around and moving around to new families and things of this nature. And then, meanwhile, their dad is kind of in and out of the life, kind of, he kind of shows up here and there, but he's not really, as involved as he probably should be as a father. But it's an interesting story. So it's kind of a drama, but it's also kind of a comedy. And it's a long film as well. It's not short by any means. But if you have the patience for it to watch it and just watch this kid kind of age, it's just kind of an amazing thing just to watch, in my opinion, just to see like this boy age and mature. And it feels kind of just real and authentic, because the conversations I'm sure they're having are kind of like those real conversations you would have with somebody that's 6 and then 10 and then 14 and then 18 as an adult, because as he's aging, that's the life changing for him. He's starting to get interested in girls. He's he's graduating from high school. All these things you're getting to watch is watching kind of like a person kind of grow up and become an adult. And I just think it's cool that like they must have like every couple years he must have just been like, all right, let's shoot some more scenes of this movie, you know what I mean? And they would just go, must have just shot a couple scenes, just like, oh well, you're 13 now, let's go shoot a couple more scenes, you know what I mean? And then like, all right, you're 15 now, let's shoot a couple, you know what I mean? Like I just think it's very interesting and very unique and original in the way that they did this. So definitely a great film, and one that I definitely highly enjoy. I've watched it, I think, one additional time. I showed it to my fiance since I own it, since I bought it. I haven't watched it again since then, just because it is a very, very long film, and you kind of have to be in the mood for it as well. But for creativity, it's one of the best for sure. So.
Yeah, I love Boyhood. It's still, basically. It's coming up in my top 10, so that doesn't leave too many spaces for it. So you can tell what I think of it. So Linklater is one of my favorite filmmakers, and you're right. Like he's always been interested in the passage of time and how the passage of time changes things. And that's something that I really respond to as well. So the Before trilogy, definitely using the same actors 10 years later, playing the same characters 10 years later is cool, I think. And this was such a cool idea, and it was such a huge gamble for him. You know what I mean? It's such a monumental task to do that and just kind of film it, like you were saying, like just a little bit every few years. You gotta bank on so many things. You gotta bank on the fact that this kid will still be available, that he will not grow up into a horrible actor. You know what I mean?
Right.
That you and that's why I definitely like forgive it that like the storylines aren't maybe the strongest in this movie, but that's because
But you're picking up filming every few years. And
right.
I don't know that when he was making this film in the initial, he knew exactly what the vision was, or he might have changed that vision over the years. You know, it's like, okay, well, we'll catch up with you in 2 years and we'll do this. But then 2 years goes by, and then, you know, all of a sudden now the creative processes have changed. So, you know, it's like one of those things. So
Right, yeah, and like, how do you even like tell follow a story, multiple story threads for 12 years, you know what I mean? And under those circumstances, I think he still does a really great job, you know. And you know, it's just a great movie. And yeah, I think I've watched it 3 times. I think I saw it twice in the theater because I went with by myself, and then with my mom and dad, and I've watched it once at home. It's been a while, but I mean, I don't think I would ever not love that movie. And you're right, it's long. You have to be in the mood for it, I guess. But it's a great movie, one of his best, and he's got several best movies. I think he's one of my favorite directors, easily, for sure. Yep, great movie.
Cool. All right, right along again to your number 2 film, which is Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer, yes, movie by Bong Joon-ho, who has one of the most, I would say, eclectic filmmaking careers I've ever seen. I mean, he's done monster movies. He's done serial killer films. He's done dramas. He's done science fiction. He's won Best Picture. He won Best Picture for Parasite last year. So he's been all over the place, and I think Snowpiercer is one of his best movies. And it's kind of a shame that it got buried because of a dispute. He was having, I don't know the whole story, but he was having some kind of really big fight with Miramax at the time it was made, and that's why it didn't get a wide release. But I think it would have done really well if it had. Because, I mean, now I think most people know it, the TV show. You know, I say, like, hey, have you ever seen Snowpiercer? And they're like, oh, yeah, the show? And I'm like, no, not the show. Which I haven't watched. Maybe it's good. I don't know. But I love this movie. It's a science fiction, kind of a dystopian, apocalyptic kind of future where everyone on Earth is dead except for the people who are on this train that is traveling constantly around the world. And these are the only people who are left on the planet. I don't remember why, some kind of catastrophic event. But the train is organized in a way that it's kind of a horizontal representation of class structure, because basically the haves are up at the front of the train and the have-nots are in the back of the train, and the have-nots are the people who basically supply the haves with everything they have, and the haves basically and in some cases literally feed off of the people in the back of the train, the expendables, the underclass. And it is centered around a member of the underclass played by Chris Evans, Captain America, who basically is trying to break through to the front of the train. That's what it's about. And it's got a really cool cast. Chris Evans is really good in it. Octavia Spencer is really good in it. Tilda Swinton is a fantastic villain in this movie. Allison Pill is in there. It's got a really cool cast, some amazing visuals, some amazing concepts, science fiction concepts, and some really, really strong action scenes. So it's really got just about everything that you would expect in like a big budget blockbuster. But it was one that went out to the art houses, and it did well at the art houses. But I think, it's too bad that it didn't get the wide release that I think it deserved. But hey, if people see the TV show and like it and watch the movie, then that's more people seeing the movie, so I'm happy for that. But yeah, I love this movie. It's one of those movies that, when you see them, I watch a lot of movies. I see a lot of movies that I like, but every once in a while there's one that just really, like, wow, this movie, like, it feels like it knows the kind of things that I like seeing in movies. And this movie felt like that to me. So I love this movie. It's been a while since I watched it, but I've seen it at least 3 times, I would say. But yeah, definitely number 2, Snowpiercer.
All right. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it personally. It just didn't do a whole lot for me. So didn't share the same sentiment. I see why it bombed. No,
You can make it barely got released. It didn't have the chance to bomb. So
Yeah, well, there's a lot of movies that go on video and become an instant big hit. Most people still haven't seen this one, so I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I didn't. I just didn't care for it. I didn't think it was that great. So I don't know that I would say that I hated it. It just didn't do enough for me. So I just definitely wouldn't make my top 10 or honorable mentions. But it's different strokes for different folks, man. Just one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Didn't care for it.
Hey, man, your loss.
I gain. All right, moving on to my number 1, and that is going to be Whiplash. So we've already talked about this one in a previous show, so don't really need to spend a whole lot of time on it. I just love this film. Just the Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons they're just the two of them are just great together, and he is just. JK he is just so brutal in this film. I mean, just so brutally honest and just one of just like the best like villain type characters that doesn't kill anybody. You know what I mean? He's just like this, you know what I mean? Because he's a villain, but he's not like a murder villain when you think of villain.
He just kills your spirits, basically.
He kills your dreams. He's a killer of dreams. Yeah, I mean, like I said, because he just plays like this conductor that is just one of the just worst people in the world. You know what I mean? Like he just, he can listen to like the sound. He can tell exactly who's offbeat or who's not playing to where he thinks they should be playing, and just rips them a new one. And the way he just torments poor Miles Teller's character in this, because he's a really good drum player, but he just beats him up so bad that he just goes into like almost a depression, just like obsessive compulsive disorder, just in terms of wanting to get better and better at his drums, just so he doesn't rip him up when he comes back to class again, kind of thing. So, but it's got a really good story, just really just raw and brutal for a film that's about music. You know what I mean? Like, it's just hard to describe a film that's about music being so raw and just brutal. But it is. I just love it. Like I said, it's just like one of those films that just, definitely stands the test of time. I've seen it recently, or at least in the last year. It still holds up just really, really well. Just a phenomenal masterpiece, in my opinion. So, and that is my number 1 film of 2014, Whiplash.
Cool. Yeah, I love that movie. I need to watch it again. I haven't seen it since it was in the theater. I have the Blu-ray up there. I should watch it sometime. But yeah, I have very good memories of it. I really loved it. So I have nothing bad to say about it. So I think it's a great number 1 choice. And maybe I'll have to reshuffle my top 10 when I watch it again next time. So yeah, cool. Yep.
All right. Moving on to your number 1, which should be pretty easy to talk about, since if anybody's been paying attention, they should probably know what it is by this point.
Yep.
Which is going to be Boyhood.
Boyhood. Yep. Boyhood's my number 1. So yeah, for all the same reasons that I just talked about a few minutes ago. I think it's a great movie. Only a handful of filmmakers would even attempt such a thing. Mm-hmm. And I can't even imagine the challenges that came with making this movie. And he pulled it off and made it something really special, I think. So yeah, number 1, Boyhood.
Cool.
Yep.
We already talked about it, so no reason to really go too in depth with that one. Cool.
Yep. Again, anyway.
Yeah, again, yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So real quick, just going to rattle off a couple of my quick honorable mentions that I had, which will be Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Purge, Anarchy, I liked a lot. The Sacrament, which is a really good, what's his name? David Jones or Jim Jones?
Jim Jones.
Yeah, Jim Jones kind of inspired film. 22 Jump Street, Life Itself, the Roger Ebert story, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Lego Movie, Grand Budapest Hotel is in there, and Joe. Those are the top ones in there. So
you want my runner-ups now?
Yeah, go ahead with your 50 runner-ups.
Okay, I dropped my piece of paper. Okay, yeah, it was a great year apparently because I a lot of really strong runner-ups. I'm just going to rattle them off real quick in no particular order. 2 Days, One Night, The Overnighters, Rich Hill, Big Hero 6, Life Itself, Noah, Nightcrawler, Calvary, Housebound, Dear White People, Guardians, Blue Ruin. I love Blue Ruin. The Raid 2, Oculus, The Immigrant, Force Majeure, Cheap Thrills, Gone Girl, The Devil, Interstellar, Cold in July, The One I Love, The Sacrament, John Wick, and the Lego Movie. I forgot that was that year apparently. But yeah, really strong year apparently, 2014. So yeah, I could have even kept going. You want me to keep going? I can keep going.
No, nobody wants to keep going.
Okay, all right. I figured.
No, cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah, a lot of really good films and the runner-ups as well. So yeah, it was good year for sure. We'll see what 2015 brings for us. So with that said, we got some challenge films for each other.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and start with mine for you. There wasn't a whole lot that I loved or really liked. There was one that I did like though. So, and that is going to be Pitch Perfect 2.
Really?
As close to a musical as I get, you know what I mean?
Okay, all right. I did like the first one. I just finally watched the first one not too long ago. Yeah,
I think the second one's good. I didn't like the third one at all. I think the second one's still pretty decent though. So
okay, all right, cool. All right, I was not expecting that. There was like some Tom Hardy gangster movie in there that I never saw. That I can't remember the name of it, but I figured you were going to give me that one.
Yeah. I didn't love it, so I didn't go for that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I would have never expected that.
That's what we're about, man. We're about surprises here.
Oh man, I don't really know. I picked like there was like you missed a lot of really good movies that year. I have 6 written down here. But I think I'm down to like 4 of them. All right, I'm going to go a little bit left of center, and I'm going to pick a documentary that's called The Wolf Pack, which I think you'll enjoy a lot.
Okay.
The Wolf Pack. It's a really good movie.
Just out of curiosity, what were the other 3 that you were really had it narrowed down to?
Goosebumps, The Invitation, or Krampus. Actually, 3 horror movies, kind of. Would you rather take one of those? Or watch all 4?
I might have seen The Invitation, actually.
Like a kind of a cult movie?
No, I don't know if that's it then. No. I might be thinking of something else.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No. You should watch all 4, man. They're all good.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not. But you never know. I might watch Krampus around like Christmas time or something. So.
Yeah. Goosebumps is a really good one for Halloween time, and Krampus is a really good one for Christmas time. And The Invitation is just a really good horror movie. But The Wolfpack, I think you'll enjoy it. It's really good. It's not about wolves, by the way.
Cool.
So it's not a nature documentary. Don't worry.
Well, good, because I don't watch that kind of stuff. I'm not into it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so that's it. Join us next time when we'll talk about our 2000. Well, not next time, but at some point in the near future, we'll be coming back with our 2015 films. We'll be talking about these challenge films. So Pitch Perfect 2 for him and The Wolfpack for me. And then we'll also get into our top 10 films of those years as well. And like I said, man, we're down to like our last few years, man. 15, 16, 17, and 18. And then we're done, man.
Yeah.
We can move on to some other things and, really enjoy life. Get back to writing that book I've been working on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All that extra free time I'm going to free up. So, But cool. Let us know down in the comments. Did you like the films? Did we miss any? Did we get any additional films that didn't make our top 10 or honorable mentions? I know Jason rattled his off pretty quickly, so you may have to rewind his 55 films that he went through. And then
25
films. And then, as always, we ask that you like, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our updates. And we'll be back again soon with another show for you guys. We thank you for watching and hope you have a great day. Bye.